Welcome to another episode of the Credit Pearls podcast. I have Deirdre O'Keeffe on again today, and we did speak with Deirdre on one of our very first seasons. But Deirdre has had so many things happen over the last 12 months that I thought it would be fantastic to get Deirdre on again and share her story with everybody. So thank you, Deirdre.
You're very welcome. Still wondering why I'm here?
Yeah. So Deirdre, maybe a lot of people didn't, because we didn't record the first one. It was done over Zoom. I think it was during COVID, during lockdown.
You were brand new to the podcast.
Yes, I was. But now that we've better sound and the visual, and actually, as I was saying to everybody, a lot of people like to watch it on YouTube. I thought people would prefer Spotify, so people will be looking.
I can agree. I'm visual.
Are you?
I'm 100% visual.
Okay.
I prefer to see the person as opposed to listen to the person.
Yeah. So it's a big. Like, we've a huge amount of people watch it on YouTube, which is great. So you'll be famous after this. So look, let's give everybody a little bit of a background on you, where you grew up. So you're kind of the coolest bookkeeper, but maybe give us a bit of background of how that all happened.
Okay, well, the cool, just born with it. Can't go into that. So yeah, just really basic start to life, normal upbringing. I'm actually a second generation bookkeeper, so I actually grew up watching my mum run a business, which was like really unheard of for a woman to be working back then.
Yes.
But she was doing it because no way was she asking somebody for annual leave, no way was she asking for childcare, nothing like that. Yeah. So she really was my hero. So I really reluctantly then kind of got into doing what she does. So I'm an accidental bookkeeper. And unfortunately, it turned out I was really, really good at it. So I was like, God dang it, I had bigger plans for myself. It did run in the genes, yeah. So I worked with my mum for a few years. And then when I was 21, as you do, I woke up one day and decided I'm just going to go to London just because. And I literally flew over on a Sunday morning, went for an interview in MTV, got a job a week later, and that was it. I stayed working and living in London.
And what did you do in MTV?
I was actually, my job was a bit weird. I was working in the studio, so I was responsible for billing people for using the studios, because they rented it out to like Channel 5 and all other sorts of channels. And this will age me. I used to bill people for VT dubbing, like, hello, tape, actual tape. And another part of my job was just sitting in an audience as an extra. Okay. Sometimes I just needed a seat filler or somebody who wasn't totally crazy just to sit there and make it look like a sane audience.
But would you see famous people?
Oh, every day of the week. My first day there, the Heidi from the Sugar Babes walked up to my desk. I remember this orange hand going down beside me, and she was just like looking to get out for a smoke. And I was like, oh, okay, I'll show you.
Yeah, okay.
And now I met loads of famous people. And like, I remember one time walking down a corridor when there was works going on. I was giving out about the inconvenience, and this poor man was and it turned out he was Method Man from the Wu-Tang Clan. So I was like, I don't know who he is.
Okay,
so
amazing.
you got used to it, and it just didn't become a thing anymore.
And how long did you stay there for?
I was only in MTV for 2 years. I had to come back from London earlier than I planned because my dad was sick. Okay. So me and Adam, my now husband, then boyfriend, moved back home because the chances of my dad surviving weren't meant to be over 5%. Okay. But luckily he did. But that's how we ended up leaving London, probably sooner than we were meant to.
Okay.
But everything happens for a reason, right?
So you came back here?
Came back here, went back working with my mum, and then, just kind of kept on plodding along, I'd say, for a few years. And then the recession was looming, and I decided just about 6 months before the recession to go out on my own, because I could see my mum was struggling with my wage, because she was starting to get a knock-on effect. A lot of her builder clients were going out of business. Before the official recession. Yeah. So I remember saying to my mum, "You're only keeping me on the books because I'm your daughter. I totally get it. I'm gonna go. I'll have a go doing this on my own." And she gifted me with 2 clients, of which I still have to this day. And that was it. I just went out on my own, and wasn't sure if I was going to stick at it. But I thought, I'll give it a go. If my mum can do it, I'm sure I can do it.
Okay, so that's where it all started. When was that? How many years now?
That was in 2007, 2006, 2007. So a long time ago.
Started. Yeah. Madness.
Yeah.
And when you think back to that, how did you get it going? Like, there wasn't really social media then.
There was no social media. There was nothing. If people were, back then when people advertised, they used flyers. Yeah. And I remember going and getting flyers printed and giving it out. Like, I don't really, it's so long ago, I've forgotten the struggle.
Yeah.
And there must have been a struggle.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, things were cheaper back then. Maybe we didn't need as much. I hadn't built my own home yet, so I didn't have as much pressure on me immediately. So I did it very slow and steady. And then slowly but surely, more referrals just started to come in. I cozied up with a few accountants, you know, proved to them how good my work is. And once you were in with the accountants, that was it, because the accountants are like, she makes our job a million times easier, so we're going to give everything to her.
Oh, super.
And then that was it, and then just took off over the years, but very slowly.
Yeah.
I didn't do, like some of the people you've interviewed had the poof, you know,
Yeah.
they blew up. I didn't do that, but it was kind of purposely, because I had other things going on.
Yeah.
So I was just happy to kind of just, as I always say to people, just tootle along as I was
Yeah.
going. I wasn't over ambitious because a lot of stuff going on, and I was just trying to focus on one thing at a time. So I'm not as superpowered as a lot of your guests you've had.
No, but I think sometimes building it that slow, but it's a solid foundation. You're building solid relationships with clients,
Yeah.
people that are going to stay with you long term.
Yeah.
And you're in a similar kind of space to me where that relationship is important. We don't do a job and move on.
No, it's really personal.
Yeah.
Really personal. And I, as a bookkeeper and, you know, now later in life into tax and stuff, I've seen the effect of my own clients who've suddenly ballooned and they can't keep up. Like,
Yeah.
you get all phased by the turnover, the sales, but they forget about the bottom end.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they're like, oh, I need to take on 2, 3, 4 people. And their expenses just like explode. And it actually is the detriment of them.
Yeah.
Rather than just going slowly.
Steady
And I get
building
it.
it.
Like, I get
And
why
it's-
people want to grow.
Yeah, but it's different industries. It's
Different industries. I like you said, somebody doesn't come to me and then I do the job, bye bye, great to see you. I take on somebody that come to me every month for the foreseeable. Like,
Yeah.
I've had a client for 18 years. I had a client that I had when this was my side hustle.
Yeah.
Because you know I'm a massive advocate
Yeah.
of the side hustle. So it just goes to show that you just have to have that honest relationship.
Yeah, it's so important. Same for us, because that's really, really important in
Yeah.
our industry.
Yeah.
We're not like, you know, do the job, move on, do the job, looking for the next client.
Yeah.
If we onboard a client, we'll have them for a long time.
Absolutely.
And we want to keep it that way.
Absolutely.
So that's
and
really,
they will refer you.
Yes, they will.
There's
And they do.
nothing more powerful than a referral. I don't even advertise anymore because I don't want somebody who doesn't know anything about me coming to me. I want somebody to come to me going, I've been told you're amazing, or I've been told you can do this and that for me. Otherwise, you're kind of like you're drowning in the beginning. You're like, I'm amazing, use me.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just sit there and let them come to you, it'll all fall
And
into
I
place.
think if you're delivering quality service to your customers, you will get those referrals.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because people will recommend you. They will say, oh, we use these are very good.
Yeah.
And then last year you did the tax training course.
Yeah, it's been in the pipeline, so I'm massively into tax, as you know. I'm a big believer that everyone in business should understand tax. But the answer I generally get back is, I'm an accountant, I don't need to know, and I'm trying to stamp out that thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, in 2021, I spent the year writing my courses because I work with people, I work with real people. I know the real questions they ask. There is no such thing as a stupid question. So I wrote the courses in a language that I know my clients need.
And will understand.
And will understand, and things that nobody else picks up on, because it's only by doing what I've done for so long that I've seen every absolute thing that can happen with revenue. So I launched them officially last year, so they're going really well, but I can honestly say, hand in heart, I probably haven't pushed it as much as I should do, but I'm so busy.
Yes, and let's talk about a couple of things. When we were on the last time, we didn't really talk about your illness. And so let's talk about that and
Yeah.
how that impacts your business, life, decisions, everything.
Yeah.
So do you want to just...
Yeah, okay. So, well, yes, back in 2007, 6 weeks after I was married, I was told that I have multiple sclerosis, MS. So, obviously, that was a life changer for me. I remember the day I was told, I thought my life was over, spiraled into a hole. I was like, what am I going to do? And then I remember one day in the town, and it's a very small village, everyone knows everyone's business. I remember one lady, a mother of a friend of mine, saying to me, God, you're really cursed your whole family, aren't you? Like, you just don't seem to be able to catch a break at all now, because you're a mess now, aren't you? And I remember just thinking in my head, well, I won't swear, but I was thinking, well, fuck you.
Yeah.
And that was it. I went, I'm going to show you what I can do. And that was actually the day that it flipped everything. And I said, I'm going to use this to spur me on, because I don't know what my future holds. I don't even know what tomorrow holds. So while I'm willing, ready and able, I put my absolute heart and soul into my business. You know, it's like it technically was my first child before I actually had 4 real children.
Yeah.
So it gives me the fire in my belly to be my own boss, to be the best person I could be, to build up solid relationships with people, because I just don't know what's on the horizon. I don't know. And I don't worry about it anymore, because there's no point of worrying about something that I know nothing about. I don't know.
But like, you do get tired, you do have side effects. How do you manage that on bad days when you're tired and, you know?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, I attend St. Vincent's, and I'm probably their enemy number 1 down there, because I am renowned for being the one that just doesn't take advice. So my advice from day 1 was take it easy, rest, take naps during the day, don't stress, and hopefully it'll all be okay. But of course, I don't roll that way.
Yeah.
So I actually would probably be very guilty of not looking after myself in terms of my MS, but that's because in my head, I'm okay.
Okay.
You know,
and you feel okay most of the time, or?
Most of the time. I mean, I suffer from absolutely savage fatigue, but then I have 4 children, and I get up early in the mornings, and I'm really busy. I'm doing the work of like 2 or 3 people.
Yeah.
And you constantly, your mind is always on the go. So I actually can't differentiate anymore what's MS and what's just life.
Yeah, what's normal tiredness.
Yeah, like I do have days, like even last week, you know, I completely, all of a sudden, all the feeling in my left hand went, all the use of it went. I could move it about to my wrist, and I just kind of flopped my hand on my desk and just carried on with one hand, because there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
There's nothing I can do. If I let it get into my head, Sharon, I'm finished. I'm finished. I might as well. So, you know.
And so you got the diagnosis in 2007, and then you were only recently married. Did that affect your choices to have kids, or what way was that?
Well, yeah, no, I suppose I didn't know anything about MS. MS was even treated very differently back then. Nobody really knew anything. And I didn't know if I could physically carry children. More importantly, I didn't know, is it responsible for me to have children? You know, because you have in your head, what if something did go wrong and I'm paralysed, or, you know, you see horrendous things. Dr. Google, I mean, he struck again, you know. So it influenced a lot, and I didn't do anything regarding children for years and years and years. And then it was just, I decided, you know what, I'll do it. I'll see how I get on. And I absolutely flew through my pregnancies. In my mind, absolutely boss pregnancy, boss giving birth, went straight back to work with the baby strapped to my front. And I just, again, I find it just motivates me. And I know that sounds so weird to say, there's something like MS motivates me, but it does. Yeah,
but you can't lie under you can't lie under your illness and say, like, my life's over.
You can't, and you have to kind of nearly, because a lot of people, I get the side head tilts. I get those an awful lot from people, and now I've kind of flipped that, and I use it as motivation of, I'm going to prove you wrong, and you wrong, and you wrong, and I'm going to show you what you can do. And if I can work with an illness, anyone can work with an illness. And, you know, so that's the stubborn part to me. Because
the stress of running a business is high, coupled with that. So I know you made a decision with Adam that he was going to look after the kids and you were going to drive the business. And, like, I think that's a big help to you, a massive help.
That projected my business into a whole new level. So it was well before the pandemic. It might have been October, I've forgotten the year, pandemic, it might have been end of 2019. We had a conversation. We've been through childminders, au pairs, bad experiences. It was nearly more stressful.
Oh, yeah.
So stressful. And I remember saying to Adam, he was a carpenter / builder at the time. And, you know, on an okay wage, but I was definitely the one that could make more for the family.
There was going to be no cap on what you could do.
There was no cap. I knew that the business was just going to blow up. I just knew it. And we had a discussion, and I just said to him, like, would you be open to looking after the children, you know, because I know in man world, builder world especially, and he was like, absolutely no problem, I'll do it. I'll do it for however many years we need to do it to get you over. And that was it.
And at that time you had 4?
4, yeah. Olive was only a baby then, and he took over, and like, he is the better parent than me in the sense of, like, he's more time for the children. I can't shut off from business.
Yeah,
so you'll never find me on the floor playing with Lego, because I'd be like on the floor with a laptop.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So no, it really, that changed everything, because I could just go to work, didn't have to worry about the kids. Then I'd Adam just looking after everything. It just opened up limitless things for me.
Yeah. Now, I know you're on a show in 2021.
The
2022?
Yeah, that was January last year, January 2022.
People had a huge opinion on Adam.
Massive opinion, and surprisingly women more than anyone.
What were they saying?
I know. Now, the day the show aired, I got a phone call from Owen McGee before the show to say, well, obviously, good luck and all that kind of thing. And the advice he gave me was, don't look on social media, don't go onto Twitter, don't go onto anything, because there may be negative things about you. He said they're probably going to be 99% lovely, but there will be something negative, and you will zone in on the negative. Now, I tried to do what he did, but then just, you
just had to look.
You want to see. What are they saying? And Adam was being torn to strips. People, I feel like they watched a different show. It's like they completely misinterpreted the show of like, look at that man working his wife to the bone. He's a lazy such and such. And I was like, did you not watch the show? He cares for our 4 children. He's training to be a BER assessor, looking long term.
But like, who would say that to a woman that was staying at home?
I was just going to say that you would never, had I been a man on the show,
nobody
would have said anything about Miss Adam at home looking after the children.
No,
so I was
awful.
really disappointed, I have to say. And now I didn't engage, because that's just fueling them.
No, don't. You're better off not.
But no, it really shocked me. It was all women. Like, men would just maybe comment about him wearing a backwards cap.
Okay,
that apparently the Irish aren't ready for a backwards cap.
But people were really mean.
Really mean, to the point where I didn't know if I was going to even tell Adam about this. Like, I did in the end, because we do share everything, because I would literally just explode, and I could see it in him. He was really hurt, but at the same time he'd be tougher than me, and he's just like, I don't know them, they're irrelevant to me.
Who are they, and why
their
are they?
Their opinion is awful. So,
but it was an awful thing, I think, because like, it's a decision you make as a family, because like one parent wants to work.
Yep.
You've 4 kids, it's expensive if you put
really
4 kids in
expensive.
childcare.
You're working to pay someone else.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it probably costs you money to pay somebody else, so it just doesn't make sense.
Nope.
So I thought that was awful. And then tell us what happened then last year.
Okay, so life was going to change. So the show aired on the 6th of January, and I was thinking, this is it. Things are going to change for us. And, then I turned 40 a week later. And the following week, my lovely husband Adam dropped to the floor in the kitchen in front of me with an absolute massive heart attack. Just
like that. How old is Adam?
He was 43, fit, doesn't smoke, doesn't drink, not overweight. Last person you would ever look at to think heart attack.
So now you have your business to run, 4 kids, husband in hospital.
Very sick husband, yeah.
Deirdre, what did you do to get through that?
Well, it's such a blur. I mean, the whole thing is a real big blur. Like, Adam had, first and foremost, we're so lucky he did not die. Just whatever circumstances that day got him to the hospital, major surgery, full on heart failure in 2 parts of the heart. So he had to have surgery, and then he had to have more surgery 2 months later. So he was very, very sick for 2 to 3 months. Like, he couldn't even walk up the stairs. So I remember my little, I still call my baby brother, Owen, coming up to the house and dragging a desk into the kitchen. I was literally moving my office to the kitchen, and I was there at a crappy little corner trying to run a business, 4 kids to mind, all the different school runs, Adam really sick, trying to look after the clients. Like, the day it happened, I had VAT returns sitting on my desk ready to be done. And of course, my mind was so confused. I didn't know what I was meant to be panicking over. I was obviously really worried about Adam. I didn't know if I was ever going to see him again when he was taken away, because COVID times you couldn't go with them. And then I was worried about my clients, because I was like, oh my God, what if something goes wrong and my clients leave me? Do you see what happens to us business people? Our mind just constantly flicked to what we shouldn't be worrying about. And I remember ringing revenue, and I spoke to a lovely girl. I remember her name was Michelle, and I was in a panic. I couldn't remember my TAIN, I couldn't remember my client regs, and she found it and she said, listen, you're such a lovely girl. I saw you on the telly. You're too nice to your clients. I'll put out a message to all the revenue agents to say not to bother this agent for 2 months because she's had a crisis. And I was like,
oh my God.
Just the weight off my shoulders.
That was so nice and such a relief.
Nice, so nice. I just got lucky. I got one lovely human. But I mean, the first 6 months easily, I'd say, last year after Adam's heart attack, bit of a blur. Like last year just flew to me. I definitely went into a hole because I didn't know how, because it suddenly made me realise life can literally just finish. But then I had to think practically. It's all very well to say that, but I can't go, that's it. I'm going to start going on holidays more and, you know, not work as much. I have a business.
Yeah.
So I was really torn, and I felt like a bad human because, like, I'm still here in the office working. This has just happened. But over time, and what I actually started to do, which was kind of like my therapy, is my dad told me, they're doing defib training in the local GAA. And I was, I don't need that. And then I was like, maybe I do. Maybe I should. Yeah. And I did it. And there was guys there from the paramedics and the fire brigade. And they were saying, we're trying to sign people up for the CFR. I don't know if you've ever heard of it. It's the Community First Responders.
Oh, yes, I have, yeah.
So that was it. Something twigged in me that night, and I thought, this is so empowering and so strong that, you know, that somebody could potentially save someone's life. Because I could have done nothing for Adam that day, nothing. I didn't know anything.
Didn't know CPR, didn't know anything.
Didn't know anything. And so now I'm currently training to be a CFR, you know, because I haven't enough to be doing.
Because you haven't got enough
I know,
hours.
right?
Yeah.
I should hopefully be live in about a month. And that was absolutely super therapy for me. And it kind of changed everything. And I have started to change my ways. And I do still care about my work, but maybe not as obsessively as I was, which was unhealthy.
Yeah.
Your clients don't think about you as much as you think about them.
No.
So have a think about that someday and just go, like, are you overthinking what you're doing for them? Like, you know.
And at the sacrifice of what?
At the sacrifice of what? Exactly. You know, like, so this year, you know, I decided on a whim, I was asked to head up a conference in Cork, and normally I'd be like, not a chance, no way. And then I said, absolutely. So they're paying for me, Adam, the kids to go down to Cork. We're going to Centre Parks. We're living now. So it's only now.
Because I looked, you hadn't had a holiday in...
I had never had a holiday with my children. Never. I'd taken Adrian when she was a baby 10 years ago to Cork for a week. And so we did the holiday, but it was a telly holiday. We went to Galway for 3 days in the winter. But no, we've never been away because I'm always working.
Yeah.
Always.
So I think that's something you'll change, hopefully.
Absolutely. I have to.
Yeah.
I have to. That's why I'm now starting to get to the point where I'm bringing people into my company. I'm investing time in them to train them. Like, I'm so, like, I wish I could be like you. I wish I could be as good a trainer and an employer as you, but I'm not. I'm such an old dog that, like, I have to try to let go.
It's hard though.
It's really, because it's my baby and it's my name over the door.
Yeah.
Well, it says Burdy over the door, but it's mine.
Yeah.
And it is.
And it's your reputation, so the wrong person in the business can ruin your reputation. I know, you've worked so hard for it.
I know, and then sometimes I'm too nice, so I'm like, I'm like, you know, am I your friend or am I your boss?
Yeah.
I don't really know, but I'm getting there slowly. So I do finally, it's only taken me 16, 17 years. So you're way ahead of me.
You have someone in the business now.
Yes, exactly. And so now I'm training her up and it's great. And, you know, I know you've spoken to people before, like, it's hard to train people who've worked in the industry for 20 years and they have their old habits, maybe bad habits, maybe wrong habits.
Or maybe just not your way.
Just not my way. So now I'm just like training her up and I'm making her do all my online tax courses because I'm like, I'm going to make you a mini version of me. I know Owen McGee says find somebody better than you, but that is never going to sit well with me. Not happening.
It's not possible.
It doesn't exist.
So when you think back, I suppose, on your business career now, and like that was just such a tragic moment, and maybe that's what it took for you to kind of wake up and say, Jesus, this is just taking over our lives, and we have to do more as a family, like if something did happen.
Absolutely.
Like, looking back, would you think that that's right? Would you think if you could go back, would you change what you did and maybe have more time off and have more?
Yeah, I mean, I always wished, I know you're not supposed to have regrets. I do have a lot of regrets. I'm absolute example of what you should not be in business, as in I was working just too much. Yeah. Like, it was just ridiculous. Like, probably everyone that is self-employed does work the same as me. But I don't know any other way. in life. You know, I don't know. I'm not like you. I don't go to the gym. So I'll spend those 2 hours in the office instead. You know, so if I could do it all again, I probably wouldn't do it differently again, because it's taken a long time, but it is paying off now. And at least now, like, it has taken that tragic event that happened to Adam to make me wake up and realise, because I was never going to change because of my MS. That wasn't happening.
No.
It wasn't happening.
It was nearly the opposite. It was nearly having the opposite. It was nearly driving you forward
100%,
to do, to say, I'm invincible and I can work.
Absolutely. I remember sitting in Vincent's and they were like, have you pulled back at all? And I went, well, now, I've actually started a second company, as you do. So, no, what happened to Adam, something, I'm not religious at all, something was looking over us that day to save his bacon, and it completely changed everything. For him as well. Yeah. He's totally different now. Like, he's a whole new lease in life. He's he's out now finally doing his BER assessments. He's thrown himself into his love of music again. He's writing adverts for companies. And he's just a totally different person. He got a second chance.
Yeah. Yeah, and sometimes it takes that then.
Yeah, like, he really got a second chance. Even the surgeon in St. James's said to him, sir, you were really not supposed to survive this. You did not have an hour in you.
Like, what a shocker, so young though.
I know.
So young. But I think, so when we're thinking about our businesses, like, I've been guilty of it, Deirdre. I've been guilty of overworking, over-obsessing, business. But, like, the rest of the life, you have to find the balance.
Yeah.
You have to find some balance.
Have you found the balance?
Have I found the balance? Yeah, no.
No,
not yet.
See, it's terrible.
I haven't. I find it very hard to take days off. I find it very hard to go on holidays.
I don't think Sharon Farrell ever takes a mental day off.
No, and I think that's tough.
Yeah.
And I think when I looked at other people and when I started on the journey, I didn't see that I'd be that person. I thought that I would find balance. I thought that I would be able to take a break, take time off. It was very hard.
I don't think there's such thing as balance in the first 5 to 6 years of your business. No. It takes 1 to 5 years to grow your business. Yeah. It took me longer, but again, because I was happy, you know. Yeah. I didn't have massive ambitions to take over the world, whereas now
you probably want to grow it a bit more.
Well, now I've seen what I can do. And now I see the types of people who are knocking on my door. And I'm like, you know, because I suffered terrible imposter syndrome. Because I don't have a fancy degree, and I'd listen to people in business talking really intellectual terms, and I'm just like, oh, I'm much more, you know, grassroots than that.
Yeah.
More.
I wouldn't let that bother me. Like, it never bothered me.
It did in the beginning, for sure. And I remember even Owen McGee constantly saying to me, you do understand you are established. And I was like, and he's like, Deirdre, you're in business 15, 16 years. You are established. And he gave me the guts, I suppose, to charge what I wanted to charge, which was fair. Yeah. And, you know, just change and tweak. And now my attitude is very much like, if you're not willing to go with what I've just quoted you, which is 100% return on investment you're going to get for investing into us, I don't want to deal with you.
No, go for something
I don't
else.
want to go to your budget bookkeeper.
Yeah.
Go to your budget bookkeeper. I'll see you in 3 years when she messes up.
Yeah.
That's
the truth of it. You have to charge for your worth. It's the biggest challenge in business. So for me initially it was, I knew if I got a client I'd be able to deliver on what I said I was going to deliver. I knew that. I knew nothing about sales and marketing. I hadn't a clue how to get a client.
I still don't know anything about sales
and
marketing.
I didn't know what I was doing. But I knew if I got a client I could deliver on it. And I still to this day know that. But I have clients that I have from day one that I know I'm not charging enough. But because they were my very first clients, it's very hard to say.
I know.
You know, with some of them. So it's very, very difficult. But I think that's, and as your business grows, you need to grow with it. You need to develop, but you need to get staff around you.
But that's you nearly feeling grateful to those clients, because in your head they got you started.
They did.
So it's like your way of saying, this is my gift to you.
Because when I had no client,
whereas
I had
they're
them.
thinking Sharon's not adjusting per inflation at all. This is great.
So it's difficult. It's difficult when you're in the service industry because you can't price yourself out of the market. You can't. So there's loads of different ways of thinking. But I think to sit back, and it took something like that, and sometimes it does, to say, this is not, long term, this is not working for me.
Yeah, well, you just always need to remember, I feel like I'm flipping the interview, and you need to just remember, you don't have any competition. There is no other Sharon Farrell.
There's no other like
Sharon Farrell.
But I want to grow the business and scale the business, and it can't be me, but it can't be me in my business, delivering to my
But
clients.
you train your staff.
Yeah,
Your staff are all going to be like mini
but
Sharon
that's
Farrells.
where you have to put the investment in, and that's where when you take on new staff,
Absolutely.
you have to do that.
It's worth it.
You have to, and it's making those decisions. Like it took you 16
A long
years
time, yeah.
or whatever to take on somebody
Yeah.
and entrust the
Yeah.
business into them.
Yeah,
And
like we all know the time it takes to train, it's painful.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to go backwards, but you know you're going to go forwards. Like who I have now in the office, I know she's never going to leave me. I know she's not. And that's not me being cocky. She is a person that does not job hop. She is really loyal. And most importantly, if she does something wrong or I see something that could be done better, I can say it. And she doesn't take it personally. She just goes, that's absolutely fine. I'll do that from now. And that's half the battle. You actually told me you can train anyone. You can't train attitude.
You can't.
You told me that.
Yeah, you can't. You can't give me anybody, but bad attitude, you can't.
Yeah.
Stinks, and it'll spread like wildfire.
Absolutely,
in
it's
the
contagious.
business. But everybody else, if they haven't got the skill set, you can train them to do whatever.
Yeah.
But attitude for me is it.
Yeah, but I think it's gas. You told me that about 2 years
Yeah.
ago. Because I met you at a networking event
Yeah.
for the first time.
Yeah.
Back, different logo,
I
different
thought you were
everything.
a Riverdance.
Yeah, I know. This is
I
like
thought you-
hilarious. Yeah,
We
no,
won't.
not Jean
Yeah,
Butler,
I
I'm
did.
not
I
Jean
thought.
Butler.
I actually did, Deirdre. I thought you were in
Well,
Riverdance.
I can't believe you thought that up until like
Yeah.
a half an hour ago.
I did, and I used to tell people.
No, I can.
But listen, tell me what is next for Burdy Bookkeeping. What would you want to do? So, what would success look like for you in the next, say, 7 to 10 years?
Success for me in the next 7 to 10 years is where I can, if I choose, not work as long as I am, still have the same amount of clients coming in, knocking on the door. The day the inquiries start coming is the day that I feel something's gone wrong. So I see Burdy doing nothing but just growing and growing and growing.
And more staff,
More staff, for sure. I'm already thinking I might take on another person this year. The tax training, I know it's going to take off because that's been weird for me because it's like going back to day one of business, you know, whereas I'm like, why is this not taking off like just
way-
like
yeah,
that, you know?
yeah,
And I
yeah.
have to remember, it's
Those
a
days,
new arm
yeah.
to the business. But I can see me doing a lot of training for like big bodies, talks. You know, there's already a lot lined up for this year. So I just think nothing phenomenal. I don't feel I'm going to be a millionaire. I feel I'm going to just be more balanced and happier person. I am happy. I love my job, but I do know that I'm falling down on the personal side. I know, and I owe it to my children.
Yeah, you do. And
I owe it to myself.
Yourself.
I do, because I remember it was said to me by my MS nurse in Vincent's, I love her, but she can be vicious. I remember she said to me when my illness took a really bad turn 2 years ago, and I was in denial, didn't want to go on treatment, because when you're on treatment, that means you're sick, right? And I remember she said to me, well, Deirdre, okay, I can't force you to take treatment, but I would like you to go home and look at your children and just see, do you feel okay that they're going to be caring for their mother in less than 10 years? So I was like, knife in the stomach.
Yeah.
And that was it. So I owe it to myself. I owe it to my children. I don't want my children thinking it's okay to grow up and work this way.
Yeah.
My daughter's already like, you just work non-stop. You're such a hard worker.
Yeah.
I'm like, and I keep
That's
saying,
the
Adrian,
example.
don't follow my example. What I'm doing is really not good for your body, your mind, anything.
Yeah, so that's your next, this is your goal now,
Yeah.
to grow the business, but not only having you doing everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I have to step back, but always have my finger in all the pies, because that will never change.
I know, but that's really important. Like you can't not manage the business.
Oh, 100%.
You still have to be
I
in
will
it.
check
Yeah.
everything
Yeah.
all the time. You know,
You have to still manage the business. And let's just talk before we wrap up about social media. So when you start your business, there was no social media, no
Nothing.
Instagram, no LinkedIn, no way to promote your business.
Yeah.
How did you adjust to that? You're obviously very good at it now. How did you adjust
so slow. Even last year, I don't even think, so we're not even, like 2022, I barely had an Instagram page. I didn't do anything. Why would anyone want to hear a person talking about bookkeeping or tax? So I would say I'm getting better at it. I still don't know if I'm sold into the world of social media yet, because you know, if I was telling you how to feed your family for a $5, I'd be great. I'd have tens of thousands of followers. So I'm reluctantly moving into social media, trying to stay consistent, all the rules that they tell you. But I don't know. I just don't know if social media is for my sector.
I just think social media is for every sector because it's here. Everyone
do.
uses it. Yeah.
You do.
Yeah, and it's like we just have to be on it whether we like it or not. And it is a way of reaching businesses.
Yeah. Well, see, I would class myself as very unprofessional in the sense of I'm never going to act corporate. I'm never going to wear a suit. I'm never going to use words.
Like the thing about social media is you have to, I think, appear as yourself.
I think so, but then I wasn't sure if I was going down the right path.
Who are they going to get when they work with you? This is who they're going to get when they work with you.
Yeah.
They're not getting anybody else.
But you then start doing that comparison. You start looking at somebody in your sector who does similar to what you do, but in our minds we go, not as good as us.
But they'll just do and people will go with them because they will like that. But people will come with you because they like you.
Yeah.
And I think that's the brilliance of social media,
Yeah.
is to be able to actually portray who you are, what service you're delivering.
Yeah.
But when you arrive to meet your customer, this is who they're going to meet.
I know.
Not somebody that they saw on Instagram that looked not like you.
I know.
Didn't have tattoos. didn't look like that. So that's who they're going to get. So you can't do that. I think it's a dangerous game to play.
And as well as that, it's the focusing on your followers. You have to. When I first started using Instagram on the back of being advised by a very, knowledgeable Owen McGee, who started off himself at less than 1,000 followers. I was obsessed with the figures. I was obsessed with my lack of figures. And I would say to Adam every day, like, what am I going to do? Like, how do I get these followers up? But then it's the engagement I get with my followers is amazing. And I'm like, do you know what? If I only have 3,000 followers, but they all look at what I say, they engage, they ask me DMs, I'm doing something right.
And I always say, imagine 3,000 people showing up to you.
I know.
You'd be like blown away.
Absolutely blown away. So yeah, it did at the beginning, the social media got under my skin. And then I nearly turned my back on LinkedIn for some reason. And now I'm like back to there going, that's where my people are as well. So, it's a balance.
Yeah, it is. But it's something that like our generation just didn't, like younger people are just flying on social media. It's just because they grew up with it. We didn't.
I know.
So it was a big challenge and a big thing to overcome. So for businesses out there, I'd advise them to get on it. Any lasting tips, say, for two things I suppose if you're giving advice to businesses. So somebody starting from scratch tomorrow, so you talk a lot about side hustle.
Love the side hustle.
Would you advise they start as a side hustle and then work it out?
Always, because nobody knows, not even a person themselves. They could have an idea in their head of what it is they want to do. But it's only when they start doing it, they'll realise a few things. Do they enjoy being self-employed? Are they actually really as good as they thought they were? And is there a market? So that's really important. So if you just drop sticks, leave your job, you're just putting yourself into a negative point from the get-go. So I always say to people, if they can, depending on what they do or what they want to do, if they can hold onto a job or a part-time job just to take the stress off and then get out there and start hustling, and that's when you can make all your mistakes. It's only from making the mistakes.
You learn.
I've made mistakes. I'm sure you've made mistakes. You learn. And you get out there and just, as I always say, it's the testing the waters phase. And there's like different ways to handle your tax when you're doing it as a side hustle. So if you're not making over $5,000 in your first year, you don't even have to worry about the registering for tax. I've posted, I wouldn't even bore you, but there's posts on Insta that I have. So I would always say, test the waters. I had a guy on a course 2 weeks ago. I did a live tax training, which I don't normally do. And it was a lovely small number. And it was one of those rare occasions where I could actually ask everybody what it is they do, give me a background. And he started off with some outdoor activities. And he started off as a side hustle in 21. And it was only this year he got the nerve, and he's absolutely flying it. He said he made all the mistakes in 21, learned from them, got himself primed, and now he's off running.
He was able to leave the job
straight away.
Okay, so that's your advice. Maybe keep your job for a while,
if you
see how it pans, and find out if you even like it. Then you might think you love it.
Some people don't like being self-employed. From the DMs I get, about tax worries, I'm just like, some people are. Listen, I've had clients in my door who I have thought from the get-go, you should not be self-employed. You're not able for it. You haven't got a business head. And when I say business head, I don't mean like saying big words or anything. They just
haven't got the graphic.
They haven't got it. They don't understand it. And I would have to say to them in a really kind way, would you not put your, skills to use for somebody else? And you'll get to do it. You'll get to make money. Whereas now you're just absolutely money is just going everywhere.
Make money on it,
So I would always say you need to be sure, because it takes a very certain type of person.
Yeah.
Self-employment is not the glamour that people have. We know that.
That's why I really wanted to do this podcast, to say, like there's positives and negatives.
Yeah.
But the negatives are your husband has a heart attack, you have MS, and you still have the computer side of the desk.
You still have to do it.
Yeah.
It's not going to go away.
No, and there's no one else coming in to take the reins and say, Deirdre, I have it.
No.
Sit down.
I know, right?
Yeah, so there is the plus and the minuses to it. And then maybe when they get a little bit more established and they're like 3, 4, 5 years, so when they're looking then to grow, and what did you do in your business? Did you take investment advisory? What did you do?
I did everything solo. Absolutely everything solo. I just started taking on clients, just slowly growing, but at the same time keeping my costs absolutely the same.
Yeah.
So year on year on year, my profit was just growing and growing and growing, because there's no point doubling your turnover and then tripling your overheads. And I see it all the time. I see clients go, I got this amazing deal, this person's come in, and then I'm reporting losses to them, and they're like, but that just doesn't make sense. So I would say just do it slow and steady. I mean,
and keep your eye on the bottom line.
Keep your bookkeeping. As I don't even want to bring this podcast back to my trade, but it is so important to have your bookkeeping done. If you don't have figures to look at every month, you're navigating blind.
Yeah.
What is the point? I have people who literally go to the accountant once a year with a shoebox. I'm like, you actually don't even know if you made a profit or a loss. You haven't a breeze.
And like, it's all those little things. So I put a post up recently, and I know you saw it on Instagram, where I was like, I do the cleaning and stuff, and people are like, just pay somebody, and you're like, that €50 or is 200 a month. That could be Google AdWords, that could be anything in the business. Over 6 months, what's that money? I could be investing that in something else. So for me, I watch the pennies in the business more than I do my own.
I'm the exact same as you. I am not. Even my software, I look at my software and go, it might only be €8 a month, and I'd be like, I've not used that in 2 months. I'm getting rid. Delete.
So I think so keep their eye on the overheads, keep their eye on where the spending is.
Just have your bookkeeping done.
Yeah, and know where your money is going.
Who tells you they can bookkeep, but they don't know. And just stay out of trouble with revenue. I can't tell you how many people are just like guessing. Just doing guesswork, sending things to revenue, doing it wrong. They might have a brother or a sister, a mother or father doing the bookkeeping, and I'm like, they have no business doing your bookkeeping.
Yeah.
If you're going to spend money on anything, invest it in your numbers, because the return on that investment, if I can sit down with you, Sharon, and say, Sharon, those overheads were just way too much and completely unnecessary, and if you did this and spent that, we could keep your profit up, but your tax low. So it just pays off in spades, just to do your homework. Don't navigate blind through business.
Yeah, brilliant. Because I think that's where people are romanced by the turnover. The turnover is nothing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. You say your turnover was $250,000. I haven't got that in my bank. I was like, oh, like you actually have to contact Sharon Farrell over that.
But their turnover and the profit's different.
Absolutely.
So your turnover is just your sales, but you could be still making a lot. You could have 10 million in turnover.
I'm sure you've heard the expression that somebody said, turnover is vanity, profit is sanity.
Yeah,
your turnover and your profit, night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. Now, luckily for me, and you'll be the same, because I'm so good at managing my numbers, my turnover is great and my profit's usually pretty great. But because we watch our numbers.
And you're taking risks where you know your numbers, and it's really, really important.
Everything's calculated.
And if you don't know them yourself, get someone like you into the business and they can help you with your tax, your profit and everything.
It's calculated everything. You have to be calculated in business, whether it be, cold and calculating, so be it, or just calculated risk. We just can't go, right, I made epic sales last month, I'm just going to start spending all my money on these lovely extravagances.
I see it all the time.
It will not
Then
pay
they've a
off.
VAT bill, then they've tax, then they've,
Absolutely. Snowballs.
Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah.
But Deirdre, I love our conversations. We have them all the time. I know that your year last year was just absolutely nuts and crazy, but you survived it. You're still here, and your business is still here, and you're looking to make changes. So I wish you the best of luck. If people do want to reach out to you, what's the best? Where do you like to be contacted?
Well, they can go to Burdy, that's burdy.ie, and the contact us through there, or I am on Instagram as Clever Burdy, where I'm giving all the awesome free tax tips. Come on now.
Right, and LinkedIn?
LinkedIn on is Deirdre O'Keeffe, 2 F's, very important.
Yes, 2 E's, 2 F's, I made that mistake. So that's where they can find you and reach to you.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I'm always there.
Okay, super. Thanks for your time, Deirdre.
Thank you, Sharon.
Thank you so much.